Breakout room number 1. What is your theory of innovation?
Should I present, Professor? Because we have made the slide.
Okay, sure.
Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes.
So at first, we brainstorm our theory of innovation, and we conclude that innovation is the big part of innovation is about solution, which later it leads us to the change. So this is our idea about innovation. There should be an expansion of value, and then this expansion of value is related to the combination of new impacts that we are going to do with that innovation. So the expansion of value here means that innovation doesn't only think that we should create something, some new products or service, and then serve it to the customers, but the expansion of value is we also think about uh, the CSR activities as well as the ethical and moral things that we do with our innovation, like for the environment and environment sustainability, and then how we also do ethical to the society as well. And this one is related to the combination of new impacts. New impacts in here doesn't only mean that we are giving impacts to the outside environment, but as well as the impacts inside our company, inside our society, inside our internal stakeholders. So for instance, this one is I take on my own example. In Indonesia, I have built business like online course with my siblings, but the things that make this one is different is we utilize the human resource which comes from young generations. So we have built this business since the pandemic last year, and the things that make us different is the teacher or the people that working in us with us comes from our friends. So we utilize this kind of human resource. We also want to give them new job and wants to give them useful impacts because many of people in Indonesia are losing jobs during this pandemic. So we kind of mix that kind of things. So it also bring the new management method in our system. And
So is that it?
and the last one is required conditions. In our opinion, there are 3 required conditions if we want to build an innovation, which comes from the pressure from the environment. And then we also need the knowledge, our knowledge of surrounding, of our situation surrounds us, like how we interact with the exact people who have the problem, and also creating good timing to apply that innovation. And we also need the capability of team that able to apply the innovations. Like we also think about the diverse team and then the develop skills like the crisis management skills and solving problems skills. Yeah,
Okay,
that's what we have thought.
great. Well, thank you very much. This is not an easy assignment. Um, Obviously, a short time and so forth. People spend years thinking about this. One of my comments is, you mentioned about pressure from the environment, but there's no specificity on what kind of pressure we're talking about. You mentioned about the knowledge from experts, and it sounds good, but no mention really what kind of knowledge. And then you mentioned about capabilities, and it's not very specific. Now, obviously, these are very short time, short time to think about it, short time to present. But one of the challenges why this is so difficult is people can always make some very nice words, right? That sound good. But then when you look at it from the perspective of precision and action, it becomes very difficult. So capable people, knowledgeable people, and what was your first point? Pressure. You know, those all sound like great things, but in the end, we have no idea actually what they are. So that's the challenge. Now, I'm not as again, I understand that you know, this is such a short time, etc. So I can't be critical in the full sense. I'm just saying these statements as a learning process. Uh, so I wouldn't really regard this so much as a theory of innovation. I mean, again, I don't want to sound negative, but these are the problems. They are not really precise. Okay, and I'm not saying that the other theories are necessarily precise either. This is the challenge when we're dealing with this type of a issue. So thank you very much, Clarissa. Let's go next to group 2. Who is presenting from group 2?
It's me.
Okay, good.
So we came up with the small innovation theory, and we found out for us like small innovations are the one that really matter. Therefore, they are very important regardless of scale, because these small innovations are finally leading to bigger ones. For example, they remove like daily problems that occupy our mind, our way to think, and therefore enable us to think about bigger problems, to innovate in a bigger scale. And we illustrate this with a very small example, which is basically like the hanging phone charger, or like the hanger for the phone charger. So people can satisfy their need for communication easier, which is linked to charging your phone, like not caring about like a phone charger, a phone hanging, or like not working properly. And this in the end might help to innovate on other levels on a bigger scale. And yeah, this is the small innovation theory.
That's great. First of all, I should say that phone holder looks like it could be a mask.
Yeah, in this way, case it was a mask actually.
So yeah, so
even,
you could just use your mask as a phone holder, and so anyway, that's actually very innovative, and I actually agree that small innovations are really important. And that's just important in general in any kind of progress. When you want to do a project, you know, you start with small things. If you want to do a startup, you start with small things and so forth. I think that's a general principle. And applying that old general principle to innovation, I think is very cool. So I like that a lot. Again, it's you know, not comprehensive theory and so forth, but I think there are some very intriguing possibilities by having a small innovation theory, if you will, as opposed to everybody trying to, you know, be like Elon Musk and, you know, create go to Mars tomorrow. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's great. Thank you very much. Good job. Let's now go to group number 3. Group number 3. Hello? There were 7 groups. Group number 3. Okay, let's go to group number 4.
Professor, excuse me, can you please remind us of the names and names of the members, because I don't remember what team are we. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't actually do a screenshot of that, so I apologize. Does anyone know if they were group number 5?
Yes.
So you were group number 5. We'll figure it out. Sorry, that was my fault. So group number 5, let's have group number 5 present. Jiang Vu Ha, are you presenting?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So our theory of innovation is more of a combination of everything we've learned
Okay.
in last lecture, and also like from some discussion we had in class. So it results from an innovative process, which leads to an innovative outcome.
Mm.
So for the process, we also use Professor theory of innovation, the one based on biological evolution. So first one is a company or an individual needs to have a core competencies, certain competencies that suit the innovation. So whether it's entrepreneurial characteristics, like the one Schumpeter is talking about, the need to provide value, and he also talked about the need to specialize and dominate an industry. And I think this is a byproduct of the core competency. So if you are really like interested or good at something, then you will like naturally try to be really to specialize in that field, as opposed to trying to do what other people are doing. So that is for the individual itself. And then second one is the differentiation. So this corresponds to the phenotypic variation. So from the characteristics, we need to have an outward demonstrations of these core competencies. So companies could come up with various ideas. So that is the diversity of ideas, again, resulting from these. And then to the last one is the testing of ideas. So to test the differential fitness to the environment. So company will, or an individual will need to test for group acceptance. So for a small group of people, and they're, to look for, to see if there are opportunities for market acceptance, whether it's incremental or disruptive, incremental or disruptive changes. So so in your assignment, so you asked us to provide like a critique of the innovation theory based on biology. And I think the theory, while it is it explains most of the cases, sometimes the disruptive changes don't necessarily fit within that. So I feel like the opportunities here, something that could potentially happen is a place for disruptive changes to happen. So everything else is pretty consistent with your theory of innovation already. So that is
that's great. That's very good. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'll show you here. Yeah.
Professor,
Hello?
excuse me, I just know that we are for team 4.
Okay.
Can we
just
please
wait
present?
a second? I'll call you next.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know. Good. So let me just share this screen. So Jiang presented group 5's theory. So I kind of interpreted this. I think one of the challenges with Schumpeter is he focuses on this aspect. And Owens, in terms of those 6 constraints, focused on this testing of ideas aspect. And the other issue that was interesting that I liked was how the innovation process was separated from the innovation outcome. And that's related to the measurement of innovation that we talked about. And so my theory, in a sense, straddles both Schumpeter and Owens, and also in this framework straddles both process and outcome. So in this kind of brainstorming, I learned something very good in terms of framing this. Now, in the chat room, can everybody who was in group 5 type their name in, please? So I know Jiang was there. Can you type your name if you were in group 5? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So in the chat room, type your name if you're in group 5. Is that it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there were 7 people, no? In group 5. Okay. So I just put these members here. The reason I say that is that, as you can imagine, I'm writing a book about this theory of innovation. And if there's appropriate place, if it makes sense, I'll certainly mention the acknowledgements, these members. So this was very good. Good job. Let's go now to group 4. Group 4.
Yes, Professor.
Yes. What's your theory of innovation?
So I'm going to share. Professor, can you see the screen?
Yes.
So, Professor, for us, we choose to talk about the effective brainstorming. Everyone knows that brainstorming is not quite effective with old rules. But however, using the right strategies and the right ways to do it, when everyone can write their ideas in silence before discussing it, it is proven to be effective, especially to introvert people who cannot express their ideas. They can be also creative and share their ideas. And following the brainstorming approach will result in positive prospects and chances that the organization but the organization should show the proper ways to do so to have reliable and successful outcomes. So basically, we have a process to follow. This is the effective brainstorming process. Well, as you can see, we should follow this process to have an effective result. And when the organization needs to come up with a series of suggestions or alternative solutions to a problem as collective, instead of traditional brainstorming, this always can be achieved by following these steps, defining the next step for idea movement, explain the process, explain the problems, focus on ideas. This will help the company to be more effective and creative at the same time and have efficient solutions for different problems.
Okay, great. Is that it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
our theory.
Great.
Thank you so
much. Thank you. So that was good. This is how should I say? I wouldn't call this a theory. I think it's more like a method. So again, I'm not criticizing. I'm just trying to put in context. So this is more like a method, an improved method, which is always very good. And indeed, brainstorming is a central technique in innovation, but this is more like an improved brainstorming method rather than a comprehensive theory of how innovation works and how to improve it. So now let's go to group 3.
I think,
Do you remember?
Professor, by
Yeah.
using the brainstorming will improve the innovation and individuals and the company. That's why
Yes,
we
of
choose the
course.
brainstorming, because it's a way to make the individuals more innovative and creative, and also sharing their ideas. Even if they're having some problems, some introvert people are very smart and they have such a good ideas, but they cannot share it. So I think brainstorming, we thought that is a good way to express themselves too,
Yes.
to give everyone a chance.
Yeah, no, I think that's, you know, as I said, it's a very good method, and I appreciate that. That's good. Good job.
Thank you
Let's go
so
to
much.
group number 3. Group number 3, do you remember? If you don't remember, let's go to group number 6 then. Group number 6, do you remember?
Yes, I'm going to
Okay,
present.
great. Georgina.
Can you see my screen?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so we approached, instead of creating a theory, we come up with a 7-step approach for creating innovation, of which the first step is to look at the environment and identify unsatisfied demands, and really scan through what the market needs and what's not or already satisfied with something. The second step would be to identify the problem that we want to solve by our idea or product. So in the environment, there might be various problems or needs, but we should identify what we want to solve. So the third step would be brainstorming and producing creative ideas to solve our problem. Then moving on, the fourth step is important. What we think is really important is to think outside of the box and really put yourself into other people's shoes who you want to satisfy. So, and not make it very complicated. So search for the easiest answers and try to really understand the customer's needs or other people's needs or what the market is in need for. So as you can see, we are fairly in a business context. The fifth step is gain knowledge from the past. So what worked in the past or didn't work, and try to learn from those mistakes or successes and evaluate the problem solving options that we come up with in the brainstorming process. And one very important part is to communicate your ideas, because if you don't share the ideas, then we are going to lack value. And sixth step is to put your ideas into reality and experiment with what works or what didn't. And the last part is feedback, to get feedback from your environment and how they react to your problem solving option, or to your ideas.
So this is great, group 6. So this is actually, again, less of a theory, but more of a process improvement. And it's very similar to design thinking. So this is indeed one of the best ways to innovate, is to do the design thinking process. If you remember from previous lecture, design thinking, which is building on the brainstorming concept. Also, design thinking is very closely related to evolution. There is this feedback, putting the ideas into reality, getting the feedback, communicating, and then going back and renewing that process, which is a kind of related to evolution as well. So thank you very much. That's group 6. Let's go to group 7. Group 7. Group 7 there?
I'm here, Professor.
Okay, great.
Okay, just wait me a minute.
Sure.
Did you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, here it is.
Oh yeah, no, I don't see it yet. Now I do.
Have you seen my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so after discussing, we
Oh, can I interrupt to one thing?
Okay.
Sorry. So we've identified group 7. So the only group remaining is group 3. So group 3 now should be prepared after Huang Mi Duyen gives her group's presentation. So group 3 should be anybody who didn't present yet, any group that didn't present yet. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Don't worry. So after discussing, we come up with our own innovation theory. So for us, innovation is changing and adapting new situation in the future for the better outcomes. Why I said innovation is changing? Because after listening to other ideas, I found that in order to have better, we have to change. For business, innovation important to adjust customer dynamic needs. So therefore, to meet the demand of customer, we have to change our product to become better. Or moreover, like life goes on, people will more and more develop. Therefore, innovation is necessary. So changing for the better. So innovation is changing for to become better. And moreover, innovation is not only changing, but also adapting new situation. For example, when the COVID-19 pandemic happened, we have to adapt to that new situation and develop our product, our way, our system to adapt with that situation. And in order to make it, we have several process. And I believe that it can also a so-called process. The first thing that we should listen and do the survey what people need at this time, what we need, what the society need, and then we can listen to other ideas and diversity the ideas, mix them together, and maybe fit with each other and find the best idea, listen to other. And then we can see what is happening right now and what will happening in the future, or at least near future. And after see what is in present and what will be in future, we can predict what will happen right now or what will happen in future to get ready for everything happen, and then come up with best solution and get the best out and get better outcomes. Yeah, that's all.
Great. Well, that's very good, and I think it's a mix of a process as well as a kind of theory in terms of you started out with overall change and better outcomes and so forth, and then zoomed in on the process to implement that. One of the challenges is some of these words about changing, adapting, better are very difficult to define. So and so far as a theory should have some very clear concepts, I think we still need some work on this. But again, as I mentioned, this is not to criticize, but just to provide some feedback because of the short time. So thank you very much, Group 7. let's now finish with group 3. Group 3, do you remember now? If your group didn't present, then you're in group 3. Group 3. So type your name in the chat room if your group did not present. So did everybody present? I think we're still waiting on group 3. Type your name in the chat room if you didn't, chat box if your group did not present. Can you hear me?